The First Lady is the political partner of the governor. However, the role of First Lady in Florida is undefined. Her duties and responsibilities are decided by each administration according to the manner in which she and the governor perceive her role.
You didn't have what you call it, what they have today. All the first ladies have to have an agenda, right?
Yes,
isn't that what it is?
absolutely. They have an
I
agenda.
don't think there was such a thing. You just did your duties. Plus, I always felt like Claude was the governor and I was his wife.
The doors are open to you when you are a governor's wife. I mean, it's such an incredible opportunity to accomplish so much. And I feel like, as I said earlier, that we worked as a team. We identified the areas that we were the most interested in, and we worked together.
Over the decades, Florida's First Ladies have developed their individual perspectives as to the manner in which they will serve the state as official hostesses, political partners, and advocates of social causes. We're here at the Breakers in Palm Beach, Florida, with Mrs. Erica Kirk and Mrs. Claudia Kirk Bartow. Good afternoon, Mrs. Kirk. Good afternoon, Claudia. I really feel that you have a good sense of history, especially just asking your mother to preserve the gorgeous suit that she donated to the museum. That was your idea.
It was. I think that a lot of things we just take for granted, having had my dad be governor. I think we take those things for granted. Being that I double majored in fashion, I thought that suit was definitely something that belonged in the museum.
Oh, it does. It's an exquisite textile. It truly is. I'd like to ask you about your wedding in 1967 in the Circle Room.
Yeah?
I heard President Nixon attended.
Yes. A lot of, well, I tell you the truth, I didn't speak English.
Mm-hmm.
I smiled a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was a tremendous party.
Let's talk about the inauguration.
Mm.
You were referred to as Madam X in the press.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big mystery.
Right.
And you came over from Brazil.
I came.
You obviously attended the ball with the governor.
That's the first time anybody met me.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, that's the first time.
Well, that's a big transition for you. You came and you had a new husband, a new country, a new language, a new position, which was probably the most prominent position in the state of Florida as First Lady. How did you manage those challenges?
Looking back today, I said to myself, I must have been in love, or I must have been crazy, one or the other. I don't know how I managed. It's just you do what you have to do and go along and hope that you do the right thing.
Excluding your success with your family, what do you consider to be your single greatest accomplishment?
Well, I think what I said before, that we, not just me, but Claude and I really made Florida known for the tourism, opened up Florida. I think that's what I feel like is my biggest accomplishment, because you didn't have what you call it, what they have today. All the first ladies have to have an agenda.
Mrs. Askew, what were some of your favorite memories as a family here in the mansion?
Oh, Trish, there were so many. It's hard to remember all of them, but my husband taught our children to shoot marbles. In the state living room, on the floor, there was a beautiful circlet that was just the right size of flowers and decor in the carpet. And so he as a young boy, enjoyed shooting marbles so much himself that he got them out and he showed them how to shoot marbles. We tried to live as normal a life as possible for our family.
Your gown actually was the cornerstone for the present collection that we have today. Would you please describe your gown for me?
Well, it was long, pot de soie. It had a matching coat with white ermine on the cuffs. The neckline of the dress was beaded with pearls and amber stones, and it was a beautiful creation. Kristen Skagfield, a well-known designer in Tallahassee, designed the dress and the coat for me, and she gave it to the state as a gift.
During your time as First Lady, you remarked that there can't be two leaders in a family, and you played a very supportive role to Governor Askew. That was, about 20 years ago. Now in the 90s, with your children growing, give me your philosophy on that position, Mrs. Askew.
It's basically my nature to be a supportive person, and I have always felt that what we did together, and it's still that way.
During the inauguration, the first inauguration, and the ball, there was a bomb threat. Could you tell me about that?
Well, it was not surprising completely, because it was during the Vietnam War, and we were having difficulties in that area. But that is the time my husband says he knew for sure he was no longer a senator, he was a governor, because it was his responsibility to share with the people the need for quiet, calm evacuation.
Mrs. Askew, do you have a favorite memory from the inauguration?
During the inauguration, my son got a little bored, and Richard Irvin, former Justice of the Supreme Court, sat behind us, and he was thoughtful enough to give Kevin a pencil, and Kevin immediately started drawing a picture of his father in his mourning clothes.
We're here in the Florida room that Mrs. Graham was responsible for adding when you were First Lady. Would you tell me about that?
Well, this was a dream that we had almost immediately, because the mansion, while well-designed and very traditional, needed an outdoor space, a space that would reflect Florida and the sun and have more an informal feeling. And so we began work almost within 2 years to have this room become part of the mansion, and it's my favorite room in the house.
Your scrapbook contains a wonderful letter that your daughter Kendall wrote about the inauguration. Would you read it, please?
I'll be glad to. After church and before the inauguration, the first thing I noticed was the flowers and the plants and how they prettied up the house. It seemed like everyone was enthusiastic. Yes, I had to say hello to everyone. We had to be led out before everyone in the church could leave. My dad went out with the flaming candle. He did not come back. I thought the church service was real nice, and especially the rock and roll. My dad said the longest speech in the world. Everyone was saying that my dad was going to be the best governor in the world. He was going to do a good job.
Your blue satin dress is now part of the inaugural gown collection.
It's my pleasure to donate that, and I'm pleased that so many school children can see it and see the beauty of the gown, which I donated. But you know, it's actually was from Springtime, Tallahassee. Unfortunately, my inaugural gown was damaged.
In 1982, Adele Graham received an honorary doctorate from Barry University in Miami in recognition of her many achievements. In 1997, she was also recognized as an outstanding alumna by the University of Florida. Tell me, what is your current project? What is your current interest?
Well, it's an outgrowth of my work with the public schools. I had been on the board of the National Association of Partners in Education, and we went to them and asked if they would like to fund a project where I could work on dropout prevention. So for 3 years, I went around the country and studied programs that help children who are at risk for dropping out of school. And we identified the best programs in the nation that are all privately funded. And we did a book called Finish for the Future. And it's been distributed throughout the country. And I trust it's helping other school districts start programs that will keep children in school and not drop out of school.
had the shortest tenure of any First Lady. You were First Lady of the state for 3 days.
Just a footnote to history.
Yes,
Yes.
but a very long tenure as the Lieutenant Governor's wife for 8 years.
Right.
How did that happen, that Governor Mixon became governor for 3 days?
Governor Graham ran for the United States Senate, and he was elected and had to be sworn in 3 days before his term as governor ended. And Florida Constitution provides that if the governor leaves office, then the lieutenant governor becomes governor, not just acting governor, but full governor. So for that reason, Wayne was governor for 3 days.
Tell me about your 3 days. What were some of the most memorable events?
Oh, it was wonderful. It really was just sort of a wonderful farewell event. Friends from all over the state came. We had a real inauguration in the Capitol on Saturday. Governor Leroy Collins was the master of ceremonies, and the Supreme Court Justice McDonald swore Wayne in. We had a reception afterwards, and just hundreds of people came.
Mrs. Mixon, when an individual decides to run for governor, what do you think is some of the main criteria that individual uses to select the lieutenant governor?
The first thing you must consider is that the person he chooses is capable of being governor should the situation arise that he has to be governor. Someone who is knowledgeable enough and someone who has leadership ability. So that's the first criteria. But secondly, and maybe even more important at the time, it must be someone who can help him get elected. He's got to choose someone who can balance his ticket, who can bring in a different constituency, more voters. You know, that's really important to a candidate.
When Graham decided to run, tell me about that.
He chose Wayne because Wayne, Governor Graham was from Dade County, liberal. Wayne was from Jackson County, conservative. And Wayne had been chairman of the House Agriculture Committee for several years and therefore knew lots of agribusiness interests throughout the state. So I think Governor Graham chose him for that balance.
I'd like to ask you, what do you think of the possibilities now of women in leadership positions as opposed to women in leadership positions back in 1978?
I think that the times are much more positive. I think that it's much more likely that there will be women leaders, not only President of the Senate, you know, the Speaker of the House already has taken place, but I see as Lieutenant Governor and Governor and President of the United States. I fully expect for a woman to be president. I mean, if Maggie Thatcher can run England, why not a woman President of the United States? The dress was one I wore to the inaugural ball in the first campaign. The inaugural ball was held at the FSU gym, I believe, because there was no civic center. That was the biggest place in town to hold it.
When the governor was mayor, you had a career outside the home.
Right.
You were a librarian for 20 years?
For 20 years.
And then when you became First Lady of Florida, you gave up that career. Could you explain that to me, please?
Well, I really felt like that being First Lady of Florida was going to be a full-time job, and it was. It was something that I felt like was a real honor, something that I enjoyed doing, and I felt like that it was a great opportunity for me to do some good. I did become involved in working with troubled teenagers and also worked with Florida Informed Parents, which was based in Tallahassee, which was an organization working with young people on drug abuse.
Tell me about your family and your twin granddaughters.
Well, at the time, Emily and Lydia, who are the identical twins, were only 6 months old. And I believe they were the youngest ever to be at an inaugural. And we have 2 children, Sharon and Alan, and both of them were very active in my husband's campaign and worked quite a bit to help their father get elected.
Mrs. Martinez now has 2 more grandchildren, Alex and Christine Martinez. I'd like you to mention the first dog, please.
Oh, that's one of our favorite topics.
Oh, great. Tell me the story about him. Did he jump to a presidential limousine once?
He sure did. We were very honored to have President Bush come and visit us. And of course, the presidential limo, you know, had pulled up in front of the mansion and the door was left open. And Mascot was out there helping us to to greet the president. And next thing we knew, he had wanted to go for a ride in his car, so he jumped in.
I perceived your role in improving the mansion as exterior improvements.
We did do some. Of course, we had, the Mansion Foundation, and we raised private funds. I think in the 4 years that we were there, we raised over $400,000 in private funds for improvements.
An outstanding addition to the mansion gardens was the dancing manatee sculpture.
And that was one of the things that we really wanted the young people that visited the governor's mansion to see and enjoy and really think about the environment and the preservation of, different things.
Mrs. Martinez's gown was designed for her in Palm Beach.
The gown is really my favorite color, which is sort of a blue-green turquoise color.
Did you wear it any other occasion?
I have not worn it since. I kept it packed away. It was a great night, and we loved the whole event, and I felt great in it.
What's your favorite memory of the second inauguration?
Oh, I think the raccoon coat.
Oh, yes. Tell me about that.
Well, it was just great fun. It was after that, the debate, and that it had gotten so much publicity. And we were out in the street, and I had on a cowboy hat that I love to wear, and a suede jacket with tassels on it, and it was just fun, just lots of fun.
There's some wonderful pictures
Yeah,
of
that
you
was
and the
lots of fun.
governor, as dressed as the he coon.
Yes, yeah.
Tell me how you purchased Florida House, or how you decided, initiated the entire idea of Florida House.
I thought there ought to be some place where people can go for information or hospitality or something, because it was sadly lacking. And we, at the time, were living in a house on 8th Street temporarily. And so we were walking down Capitol Street, East Capitol, to the Capitol, to Lawton's office